Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. For this particular video, the audio files were lost, so I'm going to do a voiceover and kind of describe to you what's going on in the video. I apologize for that. Sometimes you have equipment failure, and that's what happened here. So I'm starting out on a point in the back of a creek. I just hooked my first fish. Turns out it's gonna go ahead and spoil it for you. It's a hard fighting striper. I'm using 8-pound line on my spinning rod, and these stripers fight really hard. Love catching them. This one was bigger than normal. Normally I catch smaller stripers early on the points. This one was a little bit of a surprise because it was a nice fish. Had a little bit of trouble netting him, and there he is in the boat. Man, I love catching them. I had to get my pliers to get the hook out. And I'm thinking that was a good 8 to 10 pounds, if not bigger. It's a nice fish. Insert goofy laugh right there. And back on the same point. Cast in there, and before my jig could even hit the bottom, I was bit again. This fish here is a bit of a surprise. You'll notice as I get it closer to the boat, it's jumping quite a bit. That generally indicates a largemouth. And this was a nice largemouth too. As you can see, it was a beautiful morning. I love being out there. Check out the size of this largemouth. It's a nice one. That's at least 4 pounds. Might be a 5-pounder. Okay, I just transitioned to another scene here. This a little bit later in the day. If you look closely, you can see seagulls diving at the surface. And I drove my boat over to get close and throwing my swim bait. If you see the birds diving like that, the swim bait is a good choice. And they're bone jarring hook set. Those fish hit like a ton of bricks. This fish in particular might be the biggest one I've caught so far this year. It was a giant. And as you can see, that there's swirls out in front of the boat where these stripers are taking bait off the surface. Heck of a fight on this one. I struggled getting him in the net because it was such a big fish. I'm lucky I didn't lose this fish. You always want to net them head first. Wait till you see the size of this monster. That is a giant striper. Awesome. And I had just moved my boat. The school moves so fast, I had to move my boat to keep up with the school. Sometimes you can try to get in front of them because they kind of move moving in the same direction. You can kind of tell which way they're going to be. So I had just missed that fish, slowed down my retrieve, and he came back and got it. Man, I love catching the stripers. And if you just notice in the distance, there's all kinds of seagulls. The stripers push the bait to the surface, and the seagulls dive down and get the bait. It's another good striper. Man, I love catching them. Check out the belly on this fish. Of course, every time I'm hooking one, you can just imagine the goofy laugh. Happens every time. It helps to have a good setup to where you can make long casts for these fish. Once I cast it, I let it sink for a while before I start my retrieve. Check out that sunrise. I'm very disappointed that I lost the audio on this video in particular, but you know, things happen. Just hooked up with another striper. Unbelievable fishing. Just love it. There, the insert goofy laugh again. Not as big, but still those are fun size right there. At this point, I'm pointing off in the distance because there's birds diving everywhere, stripers hitting the surface everywhere. Man, they hit it with so much authority. There's nothing like it. Can't put too much pressure on these fish. I always want to reel them in as fast as I can so I can cast out there and catch another, but you just can't put too much pressure or they'll break you off. I'm using 10-pound gamma fluorocarbon on a bait casting setup. That's a St. Croix Legend Tournament rod. It's a 6'10" medium action. And the reel is an old Abu Garcia Revo SX that's just about worn out from all the stripers. One thing that might be of interest to you out there is my net is, if you notice on my net, it's rubber. If you've ever had a cloth net, your hook can get stuck in the net, making it tough to get the hook back out so you can cast again. So I spent the money and got a rubber net. You don't have any trouble with hooks. It's another smaller striper, but still probably a 6 or 7 pounder. In this scene, I'd already made a long cast, just a slow retrieve. And that's about the point where the goofy laugh happens. I was out over deep water. I was probably in 60 to 70 feet of water at this point. It's a smaller one, but he has a big old belly on him. Okay, at this point I'd moved back into the back of the creek. You'll notice a well-defined point there. There was a lot of bait underneath the boat. Still using my trusty swim bait. There was so much bait as I was reeling it in, I was hitting bait with my lure. Another awesome strike. It's a nice spotted bass on this one. That swim bait works. Nice solid spot. It's a little bit later in the afternoon. I was able to take my jacket off, nice and warm. It's just a little bit of a smaller spot, but I'll take it. This was just a little fun-sized striper. I'll take those all day long. Okay, here I am just saying thanks to everybody for watching. I apologize for the lack of live audio on this one, but sometimes stuff happens. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up. Come back and fish with me next time. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.